Welcome to this lecture on insect vector and diseases. Today, we are going to explore one of the most fascinating and crucial sensory organs in the animal kingdom, the insect antenna. Imagine trying to navigate a dark forest and find food miles away without seeing a single thing. Insects do this every day. By the end of this video, you will understand not just what these antennae look like, but the mathematical principles that make them so incredibly powerful. Let us dive in. To begin our journey, we must first understand what insect antennae actually are. They are not just simple feelers poking out of an insect's head. Biologically, they are paired, mobile, and segmented sensory appendages, usually located between or just below the eyes. Think of them as highly advanced chemical radars or satellite dishes. They are constantly picking up the faintest smells, vibrations, and chemical signals in the air. This incredible sensory input is what allows insects to navigate their environment, find food, and locate mates, even in complete darkness. Now that we know what they do, let us look at how they are built. A standard insect antenna is divided into three main structural parts. First is the scape, which is the basal stalk that attaches directly to the insect's head, acting as a sturdy anchor. Next is the pedicel, the middle joint. This part is fascinating because it often contains Johnston's organ, a specialized sensory structure crucial for detecting motion and sound. Finally, we have the flagellum. This is the long, multi-segmented whip-like part at the very end, which interacts most directly with the environment. Building on the anatomy we just covered, it is important to note that the flagellum is not the same across all insects. Depending on the insect's lifestyle and environment, the flagellum modifies into various distinct shapes. For instance, we have the filiform type, which is simple and thread-like. Then there is the plumose type, which is highly branched and feathery. We also see clavate, or clubbed antennae, and serrate, which look like the blade of a saw. Each of these unique shapes has evolved to serve a very specific survival need for the insect. Understanding these different shapes is not just biological trivia. It is absolutely critical for human health. When we study insect vectors that transmit deadly diseases, their antennae are often the key to their success. For example, a female mosquito uses her highly specialized antennae to detect the carbon dioxide we exhale and the lactic acid on our skin. This sensory input guides her directly to us for a blood meal. If we can deeply understand how these sensory organs work, we can design better traps and repellents to disrupt their host-seeking abilities and stop diseases like malaria. To truly appreciate why these different shapes exist, we need to look at the mathematics of sensory detection. The total sensory power of an insect depends on how many receptors it can pack onto its antenna. This brings us to a simple but powerful formula. N equals rho times A. Here, N represents the total number of sensory receptors, or sensilla. The Greek letter rho represents the receptor density, meaning the number of receptors per square millimeter. Finally, A is the total usable surface area of the antenna. Physically, if the surface area A increases, the total number of receptors N increases dramatically, giving the insect a much stronger sense of smell. Let us apply this formula to a real-world example. We will calculate the sensory capacity of a basic filiform, or thread-like antenna found on a cockroach. We are given that the antenna has a total surface area of 15 square millimeters, and entomologists have measured the receptor density to be 200 receptors per square millimeter. We want to find the total number of receptors. We choose our sensory capacity formula and substitute the given values. Multiplying 200 by 15 gives us our final answer. The cockroach has exactly 3,000 sensory receptors, providing a decent general-purpose sense of smell for navigating the ground. Now, let us look at a highly specialized case, the male mosquito. This insect possesses a plumose, or feathery, antenna designed to detect faint signals from far away. Because of its feathery branches, the surface area is vastly increased to 85 square millimeters. The receptor density is also higher, at 450 receptors per square millimeter. We're asked to find the total sensory payload. Using the exact same formula, we plug in our new, larger values. Multiplying 450 by 85 yields a massive result. The male mosquito has 38,250 sensory receptors. This allows it to detect females in a vast, open environment. We have just calculated the sensory capacities for both antenna types, but let us mathematically prove exactly how much more effective the feathery shape is. To do this, we will set up a ratio comparing the total receptors of the plumose antenna to the filiform antenna. We take our result for the male mosquito, which was 38,250, and divide it by the cockroach's result, which was 3,000. This mathematical reasoning allows us to quantify the exact evolutionary advantage gained by simply changing the physical shape and density of the sensory organ. Continuing with our calculation, when we divide 38,250 by 3,000, we get 12.75. This means the plumose antenna has nearly 13 times the sensory capacity of the simple thread-like antenna. This chunk of our proof establishes a profound biological truth through simple algebra. The intuition here is that evolution mathematically optimizes these structures. By branching out into a feathery shape, the mosquito maximizes its surface area in a compact space, making it an incredibly efficient disease vector. Now that we have proven the mathematical advantage of these structures, let us look at them visually. On screen, you are seeing a detailed biological diagram of 4 distinct insect antennae. On the far left is the simple, segmented filiform antenna of a cockroach. Next to it is the highly branched, feathery plumose antenna of a male mosquito, which we just analyzed. Notice how much more surface area the feathery branches create. Moving right, we see the clavate antenna of a butterfly, which thickens into a club shape at the tip. Finally, on the far right is the serrate antenna of a beetle, featuring jagged, saw-like edges. Each shape perfectly matches the insect's ecological needs. We have covered a lot of ground today, so let us reinforce the most important ideas. First, insect antennae are far more than simple feelers. They are highly diverse, mathematically optimized sensory organs divided into the scape, pedicel, and flagellum. Second, we learned that the physical shape, particularly the surface area, directly dictates the insect's total sensory capacity, as proven by our calculations comparing filiform and plumose types. Finally, and most importantly for human health, understanding these structures in disease vectors like mosquitoes empowers us to develop better strategies to control their populations and prevent the spread of deadly diseases. You now have a solid foundation in both the biology and mathematics of insect antennae.